Hey guys, welcome back to Bizarre Anime Vibes, hosted by Anime Remix. I'm your host Jofu, and I'm here with.
Drip Knight, nice to meet you.
And today we have a topic we thought you guys would vibe to, which is how Netflix is ruining JoJo. More specifically, JoJo's Stone Ocean.
Yeah, Netflix is revolutionary, but at the same time, given if you give them a product that normally I guess they're not familiar with, they're gonna mess it up. They're gonna Netflix it.
Like you were saying, Netflix has been very impactful in the world of anime, both positive and honestly, I'd say more positive than negative, but those negatives still shine through sometimes, and that's what we're going to be talking about today. So before anything, don't forget to colossal smash that like button and subscribe to stay up to date with our current anime unboxing podcast and more. Anyway, without further ado, let's hop into the topic. You got anything you want to start off by saying?
To be honest, I have fond memories with Netflix when streaming how revolutionary it is, brings you or entertainment right to you. No need for Comcast and all that. Now we're in the digital age of so many other streaming services.
Hmm.
But of course, that's not the main thing that we're talking about today. We're going to be talking about a specific tragedy that Netflix has seriously done to a beloved animated series.
That being JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. To start off by saying, what is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure? It's just anime that travels across a family bloodline of the Joestars. Starts from the late 80s all the way to the current 2010s. Well, I guess we're into 2020s now, but you know what I mean. The 2010s, and it follows a new main character for every part. And in the most recent part that has been animated, being JoJo Part 6, Stone Ocean, the main character was Cujo, and Netflix got the rights to JoJo for the first time as a new part was coming out. They got the rights a bit earlier, but that was mostly to build up JoJo Stone Ocean. So for the first time, you would be able to watch Phantom Blood, Battle Tendency, Stardust Crusaders, and Diamond is Unbreakable on Netflix. I think they eventually did get Golden Wind, but it was like right before
I
Stone
think
Ocean started.
that one definitely took a minute to see
Hmm.
part five.
But we got there, I'm pretty sure. Netflix has completely butchered the way JoJo Part 6 if it had any hype, they completely butchered it. And one of the main ways would be the horrendous scheduling that they gave it.
Agreed on that part. Netflix is known for dumping all the episodes at once. It could be for any show that you can really think of. They just love to
I actually like to debate you there.
really.
Comey can't communicate. That was weekly.
Ooh,
So Netflix can do weekly releases,
they
and
just chose not to do
they
it
just
with
chose not
JoJo.
to with JoJo Part 6. And it's really infuriating because JoJo Part 6 already is the most hated part in Japan, if I remember correctly. And all that has to do with Jolene being a woman and them not liking her as a main character. For me personally, this is my opinion. Part 6 is my second favorite part. So I had a lot of expectations for Part 6 anime. And seeing that they dropped all 12 episodes in the first day of December, I was super sad. I was like, oh my God, yes, hype, let's build it up. Let's watch it. And I binge watched all 12 episodes on the first day. And then I had to wait 9 months to get any more JoJo Part 6 content. Like,
But did they end it on a cliffhanger that was satisfying?
yes, but not 9 months worth. More like 5 months.
Like so basically if they did the weekly wise.
It should have came back by the end of spring or early summer, not the beginning of fall.
Yeah, because I did notice a dramatic decrease of JoJo memes, and I did see a lot of potential of JoJo memes coming for part
They
six.
completely killed the hype. Part 6, by dropping all the episodes at once, it has people talking for that week about the JoJo episodes and the JoJo what happened in the part, the new stands, etc., etc. But after a week or two, you're not really going to talk about it. You're like, that's old news. Let's watch it talk about this new anime that's coming out, this new season, this new episode with this animation, etc., etc. And the thing that pisses me off the most about this schedule is I don't understand who it helps. It kills the hype of JoJo, so you're negatively affecting JoJo fans. And I would understand if it was at least helping Netflix in some way, because at least it would make sense that they're helping their company, make money because every company is money hungry. But even from that perspective, it doesn't make sense because all people need to do is buy a Netflix subscription for a month watch all the parts, and then wait until the next batch gets dropped and then download again for 1 month. By having it weekly, you could have at least stretched it out to 3 to 4 months, and that people kept renewing their subscriptions. They wanted to catch up to the newest episode. So, doesn't help Netflix make money. Doesn't help build the hype of JoJo. If anything, it hurts it. So who did that? Why drop all at once? Like, who is that helping?
I
That
guess with Netflix previous, I guess, experiences with other shows, they're used to dumping so many shows, just dumping it all out, like with especially with reality shows and all them jazz. But
the
I guess for anime, maybe Netflix producers don't really understand that us anime viewers, we're used to watching it weekly.
mm-hmm.
We are used,
Comey can't communicate. Like I said, they know that it's a thing. But the big difference between what you just described and JoJo is that it's season. Like those shows are seasonal. You get a start and an end by the end. With this JoJo, the first patch, it leaves on a cliffhanger that doesn't really solve anything except like minor spoilers for JoJo Part 6. But all you get is an identity reveal as the audience of who the character they're going for. Nothing else, nothing more. You don't end with a character dying or end with the part like them defeating the main villain or anything. It's just, oh, okay, Jolene just finished this fight. Anyway, this is where we're ending it. See you in 9 months. It doesn't really fit. Whereas you have other shows, for example, where they'll drop a batch and it'll be the end of an arc, or you know what I mean? JoJo doesn't really follow that arc type, like that arc archetype, because it's more of like stand of the week. You know what I mean? It's very episodic in the sense of like,
and it doesn't also give you a chance to bond with anyone.
oh yeah, with the dropping all 12 episodes at once, you don't really have time to bond. You just watch them all. You got cool. I know who the characters are, etc. But if you were saying if you watch each episode each week, you're like, okay, I want to see this character. Oh, what's this character doing this week? You're giving more time and thought to these characters than you are in that 1 week period where you watched all the episodes. By doing
Like,
it,
cause I barely know like any other
Hermes, Foo
names.
Fighters, Weather Report, Jolene. I mean,
Of course, I know the main characters.
Anisui, like all these characters. I'm sure you like. I recognize these names. I don't know. I can't put a face, but I know these names.
The names, okay, maybe some of the nicknames, but like if you would ask me the real names, I'd be like, mm.
Like by just dropping it all at once. And this is honestly an issue with bench culture in general. But the thing is, a lot of times it's fine because you can still walk away and bench. Like for example, we were saying with other Netflix properties, there's a lot of if there's a lot of fandoms out there for them, they can go back and learn the characters' names. The thing about JoJo parts in general, just JoJo, it had a lot of hype behind it. Like go to part 3, part 4, look part 5, look at all the memes. Each week people were talking about the new funny thing that happened in the episode. All these it was me Dio memes. Like JoJo took over like the internet for a while in terms of memes.
All right, JoJo, I would honestly say before Part 6 dominated in the meme department. Like Part 5,
Everything
honestly, the music from Part 5
there you go.
helped made the memes.
Everything was a meme. Everything is a JoJo meme. You know what I mean? Everything's a JoJo reference. Like there's so many you can think of. Now you go to part 6 and like what JoJo meme have you seen in the last year besides the White Room?
There's just so much potential, not even that the JoJo community doesn't even want to really use anymore. Cause
Because
like,
there's no fandom to like there's no the fandom that is always been JoJo fans are still there, but that's about it. Nobody's talking about it after the first week because what are you going to talk about?
cause any questions you have about like, oh my gosh, this episode ended on a cliffhanger. Wait, I could just watch the next episode.
Exactly. Like if you're on because they dropped them in batches of 12. So if you're on episode 7, you're like, "Oh my God, that was great. What's going to happen next?" Oh wait, next episode. Like you don't have to build it up for like, "Oh, I got to wait till next week."
Like,
Ooh, what's up with this character?
how
It
can
makes
I
you
make
think.
like how can people make theories of what's gonna happen? How can people make speculations, theories,
It
wondering
has people thinking about what's going to happen next.
subconsciously, or making like writing down like on
Exactly.
paper?
But it's having people think about JoJo. And I've mentioned this before. Let's say they do a weekly release for the first batch, right? That was what, 12 episodes? It was on December 1st. Do the math. And somewhere in February, right? I believe it was July. July, they announced second batch was coming in September, right? September 1st. Okay, I'll tell you this, February to September is still a long time, but if halfway through that they announce a release date of when it's coming out, it's not that bad. Like, let's say we get one at the beginning of summer saying like, or midway through June, September 1st, that's when we're getting our next batch. We waited from February to June. March, April, May, June. 4 months for a reveal, and then it's another, what, 2, 3 months till the actual thing drops. Still long, but that's a lot better than 9 months with no release date until like the month
Did you
before.
have Spencer, did you have to rewatch the first 12 episodes just to remember what happened?
No, because I read the manga and watching the first 12 was my refresher. I
But I guess for most people who haven't read the manga,
Oh
there's a
yeah,
good
you
chance that you
definitely
had
need
to
to refresh
rewatch.
and like or you need to just watch the last episode like what happened and the point is it just didn't make sense. And like even here right now, the next batch so the second batch dropped on I think it was September 4th or something like that.
Definitely September.
So it was early September. The final batch drops December 1st, which by the way means it's been there's dropping on the same time that the first batch dropped, which makes me feel all types of ways. But September 1st, 12 episodes. By the time you're done, if you did it weekly on the second batch, that's like less than a month wait for the final batch.
Which would have kept the hype alive.
Everyone would be talking about JoJo still. Or at the
Because
very least, it would be
honestly, the
more.
way I'm not gonna spoil anything, but the way that the second part ended,
It
that
just
was a
in
big
general, the
cliff.
second part had more suspension to it. The way I describe JoJo, because I'll go to it by the parts that Netflix decided to break it up into. Part one is just more of like getting to know everyone, who's who. Oh, this is the character, this is their stand, etc. Part two, it starts to where the tension starts to build. The battles are more in there, the action, the more stake, there's more stakes. Part three is when it all concludes. It's the
And of course,
final.
we're talking about part six. Like we're talking
Yeah,
about part
but I
six
mean,
within like
you
part
could,
six, part one, part six, part two.
but you can go about that with any JoJo part. Look at, for example, I'm gonna use part three. Part three, mild spoilers. The first half, you're fighting stands, but they're not that interesting. Tower of God, which was the fly one, the water one. These aren't really creative stands or that cool. But why are
Plus,
they
they all
there?
died really. Yet.
Huh?
They really they
They're there to introduce you to Calculin's powers, Polnareff's powers, Abdul. That's the first half of, or the first third of JoJo Part 3.
mhm,
You get into the second half, or more specifically when they get to Egypt. Now you got more interesting stands, right?
like Anubius.
Anubis, like there's the all based off the Egyptian gods. But you got what was it, the baby? Oh no, that was the first half. Near the second half, even of the first third, it was starting to get interesting
You
with the
get
baby, with the
the guy the
drink,
dude with the gun,
whole horse.
Ho-Host,
Like you
Ho-
have all these more interesting stands as you get after you get introduced to the characters, and then the final showdown is the final showdown. You know,
which is well
it's
at
the
the
final
end.
showdown. But the point is, JoJo is known for that format. But you know why it works so well? Because it's weekly. So even if this week's episode, you understand that format eventually. But by watching the first batch of episodes that Netflix dropped, people are to see this and they're like, well, this sucked because all you got was really character introductions. And they're like, I guess I don't want to watch the rest. If this is how JoJo's going to be, boom, they drop it. But if you have that weekly format, then you're like, I might as well just keep it going, keep it going. There's no reason not to. It's once a week. I can spare 20 minutes out of my day once a week to watch this episode. It's not bad, but it's just the scheduling for part six is horrendous, and already it being having such an uphill battle, especially following part five, like it had so much to live up to and build up to, and
And
they just
also,
swiped it.
if you're any friends with any manga readers, you would hear part six was pretty legendary in the JoJo community.
Yeah, a lot of that is you're gonna see why in the final patch, but still, JoJo Part Six is one of the most important parts in terms of narrative reasons, and if you've read the manga, you know why. But yeah, Part Six had a lot building up to it, a lot to live up to, and Netflix just and again, you were saying earlier, like for example, with animes like I guess let's go with Cyberpunk. That's one I can think of right now. They dropped, I believe, all 12 episodes at once. Why does that work? Because it's one story, one season. They are 10 episodes, sorry. They
It's
dropped
10?
all
Oh, it's
yeah, it's
12.
10.
Oh, wow.
They dropped all 10 at once. All you have to do is watch those 10 and you're done. That's it. Like there's nothing more to do. You got the whole story. You don't have to wait for like a season two. There might be a season two, but as of right now, as someone who doesn't even know there's going to be season two, maybe they announce one. I'm satisfied because it was a good start, middle, and end, and it's I got my story. But with
So that is basically an example of when Netflix should upload it all at once, or it's okay
like
for
it's
them to
okay to
upload
upload
it
it all
all
at
at
once
once.
because it's great and it was such an effective short. Like it was a short story, but it was so effective that it's been what 2 months now and people still talk about it.
But question to you: would you have been satisfied if Netflix dropped all like part six, the whole person, not like divided into like three
Yeah,
parts.
all at once. No, I would not have been happy. I would have been like cool as like oh, I want to watch part 6 animated. I would have been happy, but I'm not happy in terms of how it is because again, that doesn't have people talking. That
Mm.
has people talking for at that point a month maybe. But it's just a lot like the best example I can give, and I think we mentioned this earlier, is Komi Can't Communicate. Such a good anime. Season one was weekly. So each week there was 12 episodes. You had to come back. I believe it started early December, ended like
I know Comey was last year because
no, was it?
she
It was fall. It was somewhere in the fall. Yeah, that's what it was. It ended. Season one ended near December, middle of December.
no, because it did go 1 week. Yeah,
So what happened was it started mid fall, ended halfway through December, if I remember correctly. Season two got announced in February and was like, oh yeah, it's coming back in March. That was literally like a 2 month break. Now imagine you waited from November, December, January, February, and then finally that's 5 months. It would have been still good and all compared to JoJo at the very least, but it would have felt longer, you know? I remember when I heard season two was got announced, I literally called one of my friends and I was like, bro, season two just got announced. And I know a lot of people who loved season one and don't even know part two or season two is out of Comey because they didn't realize it was gonna come out so fast. They may have heard of the reel, but they thought it was like months away.
but imagine if Comey now did what JoJo did.
No hype.
Honestly,
By having these back to back announcements or like releases, at the very least, and this is the major thing that pisses me off. If you're gonna make people wait 9 months, have a release date. Not a month or two before it comes out. Announce it halfway through or announce it at the end of season one. Or that part one. Or
I guess
first
I'd give
batch, I
it
should.
maybe. Who knows? We are not Netflix employees. We don't know what was going inside their
That's all I
minds or
want.
what
Yeah.
problems were going on, but things could have been handled better.
hmm That's all I want. I just want some explanation from Netflix's part about what went on in their headquarters to like who thought this was a good idea, you know?
Hmm. And clearly, whoever really made the decision had the mind of someone who's used to just, I don't know how they do it, but like theoretically, if you just press the button, upload all of it, they're just used to pressing it. They're not used to really building up a hype of a show because they already believe that JoJo already has such a big hype. Why do they need to build up further? And that's where they made the mistake of just giving what they thought they were doing was giving the fans what they wanted. In reality, is giving away their best tool or giving away their best technique, which they could have done.
In
But
terms of JoJo, short-term satisfaction will not outlive the long-term satisfaction by having JoJo be what is it called? By dropping all episodes, yeah, people are gonna be hyped in that moment, but it's not gonna last long. And that's gonna affect JoJo more in the long run than is in the short run.
yeah, that's true. I mean, it is sad to see. I will admit, because like if this happened to really any other series of it just being done, like imagine if Demon Slayer. Imagine if Demon Slayer. What I mean, Demon Slayer technically is on Netflix. That's yeah, but it's not like
Season
partnered
two.
with Netflix. If
You know
season
what was the most annoying thing?
what?
Was that it was weekly, but it was a good annoyance, you know? Because it would end on the biggest cliffhangers. And for a week, everyone would just talk about what they think is gonna happen next.
You know what? A minor
Do you
spoiler
remember that
alerts for episode
episode
10.
10? Yep.
Minor spoiler for that.
When Tanjiro when so my no major spoilers for episode 10, season 2 of Demon Slayer. Or specifically the entertainment district arc, episode 10. Inosuke getting stabbed. Tengen losing is knocked out and lost an arm. Tanjiro pushing or Zenitsu pushing Tanjiro out of the way and then a blast happening. Tanjiro falling back. Screen goes black. Tune in next week. Like that right there, that had people talking. I remember that entire week, every day.
I was honestly just thinking about episode 11, I guess, if I'm not mistaken. Then my chronological order of when Tengen pushed Tanjiro and then big blood explosion happened, destroying the little
I
city.
was gonna say I want to talk about episode 10 because you didn't watch it weekly. You watched it all at once when it came out afterwards, correct?
No, I did watch. I watched the big fight with Tengen and the demon, and then I waited 1 week.
Okay. So my thing is this. That episode 10 to episode 11, that the reason why episode 11 was as effective as it is, even if it wasn't for you, a big part of it for me was waiting that whole week and then finally that payoff when we saw episode 11 and how beautiful it was. That buildup of what's going to happen, how are they going to get out of this? And then you start episode 11, hell. You know what I mean? The whole place is on fire. They're screwed. Like,
No,
and then eventually you see the slow comeback, the slow build up until they finally are able to chop their demons' heads off. And then, like you said, at the end, and then another cliffhanger. We didn't do it. Ron Tanjiro, blah, blah, blah.
and I'll
And then
never get our reactions were like, "What?" But we were in a good one. We were like,
it was
"Okay,
positive.
now we want to wait."
And even if we weren't happy about it, it kept us talking about it, kept us thinking about it, and made Demon Slayer more in our heads.
Right? Because like, who's gonna not really be not who is gonna leave an emotion of like happiness? Like, yay, they left on a cliffhanger. Like,
No one's gonna be happy, but it
but
has
what
us because we're not happy. We're gonna be talking about it. We're gonna be thinking about it.
we're gonna want to have a like in our head. We're gonna have a want to have a resolution of what happened.
And that build up for that 1 week, that's good because if we could just click next episode and find out like what happened, it's like cool.
Hype
Oh
dead.
yeah, the hype that we don't remember that. We wouldn't be talking about that because we remember the reason why is because Nezuko was able to just catch the blood and burn it right away, and it was like, oh, no worries.
Yeah,
But because we had to wait for a week, we were thinking something happened.
it was like, oh my gosh, Tengen, what could happen?
Round two, like we didn't know what was happening, but that 1 week break made it all the more effective.
Oh, 1,000%.
Jojo,
And all I guess JoJo with part one or JoJo part six part one
that
having a 9 month wait.
that's not worth it. A weekly one is a lot better because people are like, okay, we know. Even if it was 9 months, if you at least told us when, it would have made, you know what I mean, more sense. We would have had more of like, oh, okay, we know how long we have to wait.
It's like a band-aid on the wound,
Please
kind of.
elaborate.
Well, because like if they tell you where the date is, the wound is gonna be to the fact that you have to wait that long.
Mm.
But it's a band-aid that's like at least you know the band-aid being like at least you know when.
Weird analogy, but I guess I get what you're saying. Point is, Netflix completely butchered it, and with that being said, I am only now more concerned for how they're going to handle Part 7 if we get a Part 7 anime because there's been no announcement. For all intents and purposes, they honestly don't need to do a Part 7 for so many reasons that I will not say. Uh, Manga spoilers, I guess, for Part 6. You'll see in Batch 3. But because of how they handle Part 6, I'm scared for how they'll handle Part 7 if we get a Part 7. Because most JoJo fans who have read the manga will tell you objectively speaking, Part 7 is probably the best part of JoJo. It's the best well written. It's the shortest part, I believe. Maybe Part 1 is a bit shorter, but it's like, well, Part 1 they cut out a lot of stuff, which is why the anime is 9 episodes. But Part 7 is like 96 chapters. For context, Part 6 is like 160, and it's gonna have like 37 episodes. This is gonna be like Part 4 and Part 5, where it's like that 30, almost 40 episode range. Part 7 is almost half that length in the manga, or at least it's like 50 chapters shorter.
Really?
Yeah, it's like 50, 60, 70 chapters
And
shorter.
it's I guess debatably, but it is like one
One
of
of
the
the
top
best.
parts.
So my thing is, I'm scared for how they handle it because Part 7 being one of the best parts. If they do batches or whatever, it's not even that long. If they drop it, the biggest fear is if they drop all of it at once, because it's like, let's say it might be like 25 episodes, 30 episodes, right? If they drop it all at once, the disservice, especially when the manga took almost 10 plus years, and then the anime just drops it all at once. That the disrespect, like you can't do that.
To the animators,
The
to the
manga, the manga
mangaka, to
readers who,
the
like everyone, the manga readers who had to read like month to month, you know what I mean? Sometimes hiatuses for a few months, reading each chapter, and then anime fans can just watch it all in one day. That build up for part 7, and like that's not why part 7 is so good because it like you had to that suspense, even though that did play a factor. Just part 7 in general, the writing and everything was so effective. Just dropping it all at once and having people talk, like I'm sure there will be people who will continue talking about it even past that 1 month because of how good it is. but it wouldn't do the
But
proper
that's just,
service.
but if they did talk about it afterwards, that's just purely because of the writing.
Yeah, not because of the hype or buildup that the episodes brought. You know what I mean? From each each break, each week. The point is
Like, I
net.
guess, kind of a little thing is, imagine, I think this might be a better analogy.
Mhm.
Imagine you were gonna watch a movie and you didn't, like, there were no trailers, the movie just came out one day. Will you really be hyped to watch that movie? Or would you be hyped to watch, like, a couple of trail,
Avenger
like
Endgame.
chain,
If
what?
Avenger Endgame, since you want to use movies, never had any trailers and it just dropped one day, you know? Like it wasn't even like, oh, it's coming out on this day. It
Mhm.
just dropped.
And this could be also used for gaming, like, if the, like,
Yeah.
God of War series, if they didn't have any trailers to
What if they
build it
announced
up,
the Pokemon game Scarlet and Violet and they didn't show any of the starters, any of the legendaries, any of new Pokemon? They just said the game drops November was it 18th?
mhm.
That's all, guys. Buy the game or not.
And even then, that Pokemon is just doing better than JoJo because at least they give you a release date.
Exactly.
But JoJo, what's the release date? No release date.
Overall, our point of this is that Netflix just butchered the JoJo Part 6, JoJo hype in general, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure hype in all aspects, and did Part 6 such a disservice that after how much negativity it gets from manga fans, I was hoping it would get some positivity from anime fans, but Netflix took any chance of that and threw it in trash, and it's honestly really sad because Part 6 is really good if you read it slowly. I read it very slowly. I took my time with each thing, and I enjoyed it.
Question: when you read it, did you read it after all Part 6 came out?
Yeah,
But you took your time still.
well, Part 6 ended early 2000s.
Really?
And it might have ended late night. No, it was early 2000s. It takes place in 2011, but understand when it ended, it was like 10 years, or like it was way before 2011. He wrote it in 2011 in future sense. Like it's like from the past. Part
I'm
7,
impressed.
Part 7, no. Part 7 came out early 2000s, ended around 2010. It wasn't 10. I mixed up Part 7 and 8 earlier. Part 8 took about like 12 years to complete. 11 to 12 years. The
Damn.
point is, Araki takes his time with his work. I was able to read all of Part 6 at any pace I wanted, but I read it slowly because I knew that it would be more effective than just trying to. I wanted to remember the characters. I didn't want to just rush through it and be like, wow, that was great anyway, you know? So yeah, Netflix killing the hype for JoJo is something I don't think I can like forgive them for. And I can only hope that they will either stop what they're doing for if they did get a part 7 or another studio picks it up because I just don't want part 7 to get the same disservice part 6 did. Thoughts?
My thoughts is, I hope this podcast and this episode help made you think more of dropping it all at once, or not dropping it, but binging. The main difference between binging and enjoying.
Yeah. Even though that 1 week break is teeth grinding sometimes, it's worth it in building up the hype and memorability of each character, each episode, each anything. But yeah.
Agreed.
All right.
But of course, we want to hear your thoughts in the comments below.
Don't forget to colossal smash that like button, subscribe to stay up to date, and drop a comment about your thoughts on this episode and thoughts on how Netflix handled JoJo in general. Because I really hope I'm not the only one who is angered by this. But even if I am, let me know if you disagree. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching. Stay safe. Peace.